Yes, dus we zijn nu live. Ja, join. Good. Ja, kijk alleen hoe het op LinkedIn staat. Yes, and we are live. Good. Yes, all right. Yeah. All right.
Yes, can we start?
We can start, I guess.
Okay, hello. I don't see anybody, but I assume everybody is seeing us. Hello and welcome to this webinar at 8 o'clock. Our webinar is called FoodStart, and what we aim to do here is to educate you and tell you a little bit about the fundamentals for very sportive people, actually. So everybody really welcome. Just for you to mention, all the mics and cameras are off. And also we are recording this webinar for also to share later on with you guys and girls, and also with other people who didn't get a chance to actually join. And yeah, so that we have some documentation as well. So yeah, that's it for now. I'll just quickly start with introducing ourselves. First of all, my name is Masha Kristelijn. I'm 46 years old already, live in Amsterdam, and I'm quite a sport enthusiast. I do for CrossFit and yoga already now for 9 years. I also got my CrossFit certification and my health coach certification with Chivo. And I'm just very passionate about sports, but also about nutrition and how this can help me to actually achieve more in my sports. And I also just get inspired or just energized by inspiring others on this topic. So that's also why Rubianka and I decided to host this workshop or this webinar, because we are both passionate about these things and like to share it with you guys. So yeah, that's in short who I am. Rubianka, what about you?
Yes. So thanks for the introduction, Masha. I'm Rubianka, and I'm a personal trainer helping women above 40 actually to move better and feel better, and also get rid of pains, get to thrive in their lives, because yeah, with pain we limit ourselves as well. So that's where I help this woman in my personal, like private gym here in Hoofddorp. I'm also like Masha. I'm a big fan of CrossFit. I think Masha is a little bit better than me. She just did the open, so that's I didn't do them. But so doing CrossFit and yeah, strength training in general, I do believe that this is a very, very powerful tool for yeah to getting strong and resilient also in our older years. So this is a little bit about me. And today, actually, I want to yeah tell you what we're gonna do in these 45 minutes, more or less. We're gonna talk about three pillars, actually. So we're gonna talk about why we eat. It is a question that we don't ask ourselves, but there is a lot of background there, and it can also help us understand about nutrition. So why we eat, we're going to start with that. Part two is gonna be what we eat. So what are macros, for example? So we're gonna go quickly through these topics, and then we're gonna end with when to eat to improve and optimize our performance in workouts or competitions and things like that. Also for recovery purpose, there's a valid factor to take into account when we are trying to get better in our sports or get better in our life. And we're gonna end with a little bit of tips and tricks to how to integrate that in our lives. And then you guys have some time to ask us some questions if you do have questions. So I'll ask also for you to send us your questions in the chat for the last 50 minutes, and we're gonna try to answer them as much as we can. Yes, and then I'm just looking at my my little paper. And then also this webinar is going to be like an introduction to our workshop that we're going to give in Amsterdam on the 12th of April. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in the end of this webinar if you're interested. Yes. So we have, so as I said, we're going to start with why we eat. This is a question that I guess not a lot of people or a lot of you have asked yourself. And there are two major aspects of why we eat. First of all, eating is our source of energy. So without food, we cannot live, we cannot move, we cannot do stuff. So it's really our fuel to be able to do things in life. So this is one, and it also helps us to perform better. If we're now talking about workouts or going to the gym or running, we can use food to help us to be better in these areas. Masha's going to talk about the second one.
Yeah, and you talked about life as well, what we need, and indeed that is a major part as well. That's also the reason why we eat. One of the things talking about life is also the social aspect. That means like you eat in the evening with your family and with your children. You eat out with friends, or you go with your family out. And maybe you eat out with colleagues. So there's also a social aspect to it. And especially sometimes these circumstances gives us challenges when we talk about, especially if you want to eat also for your training, it can be hard sometimes to integrate those social aspects into your sports diet you want to stick to. Especially when you sometimes have a corporate job and you go out with clients to eat, or you're with colleagues in the canteen. You sometimes have choices or challenges that are maybe conflicting a bit with what you want to achieve with your sports. So that is also the social aspects that comes in, besides the other more like ritual things, like if you have a birthday, how often it is that you get cake. If there are, I don't know, when the children are treated, if I look at my own niece and nephew, they get treated by going to the McDonald's. Yeah, does that fit in your nutrition for sports? Not so sure, but then if you want to join them, how do you accommodate that, and how do you fit that in your workshop or in your diet? And then, for example, looking now, it's Ramadan. People are fasting. If you are sporting during the day, the other day I had two athletes in my class where I teach CrossFit. They were actually fasting. So that's something you need to take into consideration. You don't have that much energy, and it's different. So those kind of social environment and cultural environment also play an aspect in why we eat as well. Um, and then the next thing that's also why we eat is sometimes to feel better. We have also two elements to that. One is the physical, like you feel weak, so you have the feeling you need extra vitamins or let's say sugar to get more energy, or you feel emotionally not so well. So when I don't feel that well emotionally, I start eating chocolate. Sometimes other people go for ice cream, cookies, a bag of chips, you know. These are the things also why we eat. And these are also things we need to, you know, take into account when we talk about nutrition and why we eat. Um, Habits. Rubianka, can you share something about that?
Yes, and then the last thing we want to mention here is also habits that you picked up since you've been small, right? Think about coffee. Coffee with cookie is always cookie with it. Not always, but let's say a lot of people have their coffee with something else to eat. So this is just purely a habit. There's no need to eat the cookie with a coffee, but just because you've been associating coffee with cookie, you will, well, just grab a cookie and eat it. So these are patterns, of course, things to take into consideration when we were talking about how to change nutrition. We also need to look at certain habits that we have. Yes, why are we taking the cookie? Why do we celebrate always with cake or stuff like that?
Or
I see it
alcohol
with
when you have a dinner in a restaurant.
exactly, yes.
Yeah.
So these are things that are coupled with yeah, patterns that you learned throughout your yeah, throughout your life, and they stick with you. And we take that for granted a lot of times, and we don't even think about it.
Yeah.
So
I-
it, if
Correct.
you want to change something, yes, the first thing is awareness. Really assess where things could change, where we could change things, and so yeah, first step is awareness.
Yeah. And we talk now a lot about why we eat, why we do eat, but sometimes there are also you don't eat. Sometimes there are reasons like, I don't know, stress or a very busy schedule. You just tend to forget to eat. Or if you're sick, then you don't even feel like eating. Your body just says, I don't need anything. So these are also, you know, talking about allergies or intolerances to lactose or gluten. I mean, these are also reasons why we sometimes don't eat. But if you're sporting a lot and you need a lot of energy, how do you then accommodate what you eat actually to, you know, things you want to avoid or to moments where you forget to eat? So that's also something to take into consideration while you talk about why you eat. And then, yeah, there's a lot of ways actually to educate yourself as well about why you eat and what you need to eat. Like magazines like Women's Health, Men's Health, books, but also YouTube. There's a lot of resources there. From the Dutch government, for example, you have the Voedingscentrum, which is a quite nice resource of information. At the end, it also comes down, in my perception, to what fits your training schedule and your body. And actually, the best education you can get for yourself is listening to your own body. If you get a bloated gut, you ate something or you drank something that didn't work for you, and finding out what it is, that's also part of educating yourself. If you are drained with energy or suddenly you have a huge dip after lunch, those are signals that you can read and start to understand how that works for you. So those are sort of the tips and tricks that you yeah, you can use as well to understand why you eat or why you don't eat. And yeah, I think that's it. Do you think, Bianca, for why we eat, that pillar? Do you have
I
anything
think
to
that
add?
we covered everything. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Because then I want to progress actually to what we eat. So that's the second pillar we wanted to discuss in this webinar. And let me start off with just the very fundamentals, which is our macros. A lot of people have heard about macros, I assume, but as we are covering also the fundamentals of nutrition. Let's just go quickly through them. So the macros are actually three. They're protein, they're carbohydrates, and they're fats. And when you break them down and take them one by one, proteins are actually everything that is found in animal protein, for example. So everything that walks, that runs, that flies, that swims, those are animal proteins. Um, so you can find them indeed in meat, in fish, in poultry. And that in general, if you look at like the amount of grams per 100 gram of food, of protein in food, um, they range different per type, but around 20 grams per 100 gram. And then the next big source of proteins are legumes. So beans, chickpeas, lentils, for example. They're like, say, around, just by the top of my head, 10 to 12 grams per 100 grams. So it's a lot less than animal protein, but still quite a lot. So if you're, for example, vegetarian, it's a great source actually for your proteins, which actually depends, of course, on what you need for your workout, but can be a great source. And then second um, are dairies, so quark, skyr, yogurt. Those are also great sources of protein, apart from all other good elements that they've got. So that quite well covers the main fundamentals, basics of protein. Then we continue to carbohydrates. These actually are the fuel for your body. So these give you energy in form of sugar, in form of also fibers. So, and these are all very important elements as well for nutrition too. You can find them, of course, in vegetables, legumes. So there's a difference between vegetables and legumes. But then we have roots like potatoes, like jams and carrots, for example. Vegetables are also leafy greens, which actually contain also a lot of fibers, like kale, endive, leek, those kind of vegetables. What else do we get with carbohydrates? Fruit, for example. And these contain also a lot of other stuff, which we will just step into quickly after this. Um, what's more to mention about carbohydrates? Well, they just give us a lot of energy to our body. And dependent on the way they are constructed, you have some that provide energy very, very quickly, and some that are more complex and that takes for your body a little bit longer to actually break down and make the energy accessible to your body. So it also depends on, but we'll go into that later on, like what do you actually need to eat when you come to your workouts, and yeah, when you actually need that energy. Then when it comes to fat, fat comes also in various shapes. You got fat that comes in meat as well, and fish, like think about fishy, very oily fish like herring and mackerel. They also contain a lot of omegas. We're not going to go deep dive into omegas, but we'll keep that for our workshop. Um, but actually, fat is also a source of proteins, of energy. But your body needs a little bit longer to digest and make it accessible for your body to consume it as energy. Um, Therefore, it can be a great source, but you need to time it also well if you want to tap into it. If you don't time it well, your body might just keep it in reserve for later on, and yeah, then it just stores it then in your body, which we want to have in a very healthy way, actually. Um, yeah, I think that's about it for fat right now. As I mentioned already and tapped into it, there are also other elements that come to food next to the macronutrients, and those are the micronutrients. Usually they are vitamins and minerals, which our body actually needs as well to function. The funny thing is that some fats actually we need to have to allow our body to absorb those micronutrients and vitamins a lot easier. So they play actually a role together. Talking about vitamins, we all know vitamin C, which is a lot in fruit and citrus fruits as well. But we also got, for example, examples like vitamin B12, which is mainly found actually in meat. Very important vitamin that if you are a vegetarian, you need to get in a different way. So it's very important to be at least aware of that. And then let's see if I can find a one mineral that we all know is calcium, which is in dairy a lot, which we actually need for our bones to grow, and our fingernails, for example, and our teeth. Teeth also vital element for our food, because if we don't chew our food really well, and our how do you call that, speeksel in your mouth, the fluid that comes free in your mouth.
Saliva.
Yeah, that one. The combination of that actually also makes food much more easily digestible for us too. Yeah. So that's a little bit about micronutrients.
Yeah. So there was a quite, yeah, a quite overview, but knowing that we can also use that for our performances in the gym, right? So as Masha said, um, if we want to perform well, we need energy. So the easiest way to get energy is from, as Masha just told, it's carbs, carbohydrates. And depending on which carbohydrates, she told about um, fast energy or more complex source of carbs. Um, the closer we get to, of course, to the workout, the faster we want the energy to come in and to kick in for us to perform. So it makes sense that before a workout, we want to get these carbohydrates in for us to perform. And also a little bit depending, there's a lot of research also now saying that especially women need a lot more protein. So also before workouts, like a little bit of protein. It doesn't need to be like a whole meal, and that's also not the purpose. But we could also add a little bit of protein before the workout, just to start the whole synthesis of protein and just to build muscle and endurance and so forth. So before workout, you want to actually focus on the carbs. And then we're also talking about after the workout. After the workout, it's very important that we recover. And recovery comes from protein. So after a workout, we are actually in a state of breaking down tissues, muscles, everything, because we use that. So if you heard about resistance training, we're actually not building muscle during the workout, but it's actually we're building muscles after the workout, because during the workout, we're breaking down tissues, so muscles in that case, but we need something to build extra tissue, and that's where protein comes in. So you want to after the workout, you want to eat protein and also some carbs, because the muscles, when you work out, the muscles are open. Actually, they have like portals, and they open up to carbohydrates. And our muscles are a big reserve pot or bucket of carbs or glucose. So that's why you want to add that, and that's where the most receptive to carbohydrates. So before, just summarizing, before carbohydrates and a little bit of protein, and afterwards more protein and a little bit of carbs. That's where you can recover and then go strong again into your next workout.
Nice. Some very practical advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. But then the question is also how much should you eat, right? Because yeah, how much energy do you need? And actually, there are a few calculations that you can easily do. One is the BMR, sorry. So that is the BMR is like the base of calories or energy that you need, at least for your body to function. Like if you would just sit down and lay down the whole day, what is the minimum amount of energy you should get in? And then on top of that, so there are methods to calculate that. And in the workshop, we will go on in detail with that. But then on top of that, you add your activity level as a lifestyle. So if you have a sedentary lifestyle, so you sit a lot, then you don't have to add so much energy need on top of that. But if you have a physical a job during the day, and then you have a busy life and you work out a lot, then you can add a lot more energy need to that. Also means you can eat a lot more. So yeah, that's the fun thing, at least for me. The more I work out, the more I can eat, and I love eating. So that is ways. There are ways actually to calculate how much energy you need. And then once you know, like let's say on average they say 2,000 calories in general a woman needs, then you can break it down to like, okay, so how much should you eat, and in which dimensions as well? Should I, or do I want to eat more protein because I want to build muscle? Or do I need just more carbs and more energy because I'm going to run, I don't know, like half a marathon? So that's quite a difference. And there you can play around with the distribution of the macros in your nutrition. Then, yeah, there's a lot of things that we will cover as well in the workshop, like how can you, like going through, like building it up, how much energy you actually need. And then we will break it down again, like, and how do you make up of that? How much protein, how much carbs, and how much fat? So these are things that, we will go through in the workshop also. Little tricks like, but okay, if I don't want to track it with FitnessPal or other apps on the phones and that are all available to us, how do I do then with certain rules of thumb know how much I should eat? Yeah. Any just thinking of there are more things to add to what to eat actually. I think
I
we
think
covered a lot of things
we covered
already.
everything. Yes.
Yeah.
It is a very fundamental question, of course, what to eat.
Yeah.
This is the base of everything, I think. And then we can go to the next part and the last part, which is
Yeah. When to eat.
When to eat, yes.
Yeah.
And when to eat is if we're just, well, going on through our lives, the when to eat is not as important as when you want to really to perform in your workouts, or if you're doing you're preparing for a competition. And we already mentioned a little bit what to eat before and after, right? But when do you actually start eating to fuel your workouts and to feel good about your workouts? Yeah. So there's a rule of thumb. So the closer you get to the workout or the competition, right? The faster, or the faster you want to have the carbs coming in. So I would say 1 to 3 hours before, like a training or competition, you want to get your carbs and proteins in, so plus fluids, of course, water. We haven't touched on like
Beverages.
water and beverages and stuff like that, but that's also part of the whole nutrition thing. But let's just say you need to be hydrated well as well before you go into a hard workout. So start hydrating also way before you actually are in the workout. So 1 to 3 hours, you want carbs and proteins. You can have like a nice meal, right? Because you have that 3 hours, not one hour, maybe it's too close, but like to say 3 hours, you have time and you allow time to digest as well, because you don't want to be like full in your stomach and doing a high intensity workout. It doesn't feel good, and it's just you're spending a lot of energy actually digesting through instead of really performing in the gym. And then like just before an hour or like half an hour, 40 minutes before the workout, you want that the fast carbs. So I would even think I sometimes just have like a spoon of honey,
Mm,
for
not
example.
bad.
I like honey, so you have to like it as well. But it is it's just immediate energy because it goes into your bloodstream. So you can, like half an hour before I go to the gym, I take a spoon, 2 spoons of honey, and then I
Yeah.
go off.
Is it just because it's so
Uh,
easily to digest for your body and just then transform it into sugar?
yes, it is. And as I said, immediately into your
Yeah.
bloodstream. So that's right. So it's,
Yeah.
in that case, you want that. You
Yeah.
want that high peak. So that's why I'm saying, right? We're talking now about performing better and optimizing your workouts and feeling better, and really hitting hard on the workout. If we're just like have a chill day, yeah, sugar, as everybody knows, it's not a good idea to to have all the time, because you
Yeah.
have that peak in your blood, uh, which you don't want. But for like the workout, you want to have that immediate
Yeah.
energy, right? If you don't use the energy, it's just going to be stored, and as you know, as fat.
Yeah. True. Does it also, I also feel, Rubianka, that if you can also test it for yourself. Like if you would test with your suggestion to take 2 spoons of honey just in half an hour before you go for a really intense workout, you can also just feel like in your workout, do I
Mm-hmm.
indeed have more energy? Because then you can also learn yourself, does this work for me or not? Or do I actually want a half of a banana? And does that work better for me, for example? So this
Yeah,
is also very important. Listen to your body and what it says to you.
yeah, I appreciate you say that, because it is we're talking about stuff that work for us maybe, but I think we're both uh, really pro like experiment with things. If you
Yeah,
know a little bit the rules, and that's why we're here for, you can start, yeah, playing around. You're not gonna die from a spoon of honey. So, but it is what Masha says. It's very important for you to feel, okay, does that really help me? Does that improve my performance? Do I feel better, or do I feel the same or worse? It could be, right? So
yeah,
everybody reacts to food also differently. So that's
yeah,
it all depends on genetics, environment, and all this stuff. So yeah, absolutely, that's something we should emphasize. You just go out there and then try different things. Yeah.
yeah, true. Yeah. So you talked a lot about, your food around your workout, before and after. But there are also people who, what you hear a lot now is intermittent fasting.
Yes.
Um, and intermittent fasting is sometimes also used to, when it comes to when we eat. And it could also, in when you, for example, when you eat to lose fat, for example, to become leaner, intermittent fasting, though, that you actually intentionally put your body that it goes to your fat reserves instead of to the glucose which is already in your muscles stored. So this is also a way when you're talking about when to eat, how you can also just sort of influence it a little bit depending on what your goal is. If you really want to go for high performance, what we've just been talking about, you want to fuel, right? But if you want to, for example, lose fat, you might want to sort of trick your body that it doesn't have any energy in the muscles, in glucose, but that you actually force your body to go into your fat reserves. So it also, again, this is also how you can, for example, use the moments of eating and what you eat and when, um, to your needs or your goals, actually, what you want to achieve. Intermittent fasting is quite trendy. You hear it for a couple of years now. And also there we can go into the workshop more in detail if people want that. So also there, if you have any questions, maybe now still, and they're still free. You can put your questions that might have arisen already in the chat, and we can pick it up in a few minutes when we go to the Q&A. Yeah, talking about when to eat was intermittent fasting. One of them is sometimes what I do myself is when I train very early in the morning. So that's usually then at 6:30. I don't actually eat. I just take half an hour before. I take a cup of coffee because the caffeine that is in there actually boosts your metabolism, and then your metabolism is start running, but it doesn't have any energy here. So it takes it from anywhere else, which might be your fat. And actually, I'm always surprised when I do this. So this is usually only once a week, that I actually am not hungry at all for some reason. And even if I come back home and I've showered and I'm ready to go to work, and I do eat breakfast because I know I need the proteins actually to rebuild my muscles, but actually surprisingly, I'm sometimes not even hungry. So it's interesting how your body then responds. Well, sometimes on a Saturday morning when I wake up, I just crave baked fried eggs. So I don't know, but yeah, this is also a way to play around with it. Yeah, and my body acts really well on, or responds really well on that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, here again, it's something that you need to find out for yourself. Um, does it fit into your life also? Right? It's something you need to always ask yourself, because otherwise it's going to be very difficult to
Yeah.
stick to it.
Yeah.
And if you want performance, you need to look at, do you perform better or same? And then you can, make adjustments there.
Yeah, true. And then talking about hunger, I mean, we're not hungry like in the real, like in some other parts of the world, people are really hungry. But sometimes we're, have this crumbling feeling in our stomach. And yeah, it actually is your body telling you, like, we want food. And then also you can play around with that, like when to eat. Do you just I remembered when I started off really focusing in detail and very consistently on my sports nutrition about 9 years ago. I ate really exactly the same amount and the same things every day again. And I remember that 10 minutes before 12, because at 12 I would eat on the spot. 10 minutes before 12, I would get really cold. I still have that, by the way, but I get really cold and really no energy at all, so that my body knows, okay, 10 minutes and then we can go. And it was
Interesting.
it was programmed like that. And now that I'm, over the years grew a little bit looser on that, and I'm eating more when I feel to or when it suits my schedule, my body is not so how do you call that, like planned anymore. It's not
Hmm.
triggered by that more. But it's interesting how your body responds to that. But yeah, sometimes also life happens, and especially sometimes if you have a corporate job and you have back-to-back meetings, yeah, when do you eat? So yeah,
Mm.
then also there are ways actually to yeah, we talk about in the workshop also a lot about how to accommodate to that if you have a busy life. Rubianga, just hearing from you, have a busy family life as well. How do you make that work with your sports nutrition and then cooking for children and a husband and doing that?
So I don't cook differently. So everybody eats the same. Um, and let's say I've been eating, at the moment, I'm eating a bit low carb. It's also something that I change throughout the year. Sometimes I need a little bit more carbs, sometimes I less. But that's also something that comes with experience and with listening to your body.
Yeah.
Um, so if we like now, I'm like in the low carb phase. I will just not take the rice. So I will cook a little bit more veggies for myself, which are also carbs, but it's different carbs than pasta, for example. But so that's how I combine. And it comes again, I'm not saying it's easy because it's not if you've never done that. But because I've been uh, playing around with nutrition, yes, also than 10 years now, I think, you start getting handy about it. You know,
Okay.
uh, in a certain point, you start getting very, yeah, very, you don't have to think about it. I mean, habits
Yeah.
are stuff that you don't have to think about, right? So that's, for me,
Yeah.
it's how it works.
Yeah. Well, and then you talk about like family life, and you cook all together. But let's say that um, did you involve your kids and your husband that you are actually also eating to perform well in your sports?
Yeah, fortunately, I have a husband who also, yeah, takes care of his nutrition. So it's easy for us, the two of us, to eat like this. The kids are a little bit more different. They're not big veggie fans. So I need to into consideration that. But for us, for my husband and me, it's yeah, very much the same.
Yeah. And I think there's a huge benefit in it when talking about when to eat, but also with oh, we lost Rubianka. Um, yeah. So
All
when
right.
to eat? Yeah, don't worry. Glad to have you back. So when we're talking about when to eat, and involving your environment, like your family, of course, but also, for example, if you want to eat also for some fat loss, or you want to build strength and you want to eat more proteins, um, involving your family or your colleagues might actually help. So what I did from the start when I joined a new employer, a new colleague, what I did is I said, look, I'm a very sportive person. I eat in general a lot of proteins, and but I try to avoid gluten because my tummy just doesn't respond well to it. And then since I already shared it with my colleagues from the beginning, whenever we go out for dinner or we have lunch in a restaurant, they don't look that well. They still sometimes, frowns their eyebrows, but at least they know that, oh yeah, Masha, she's gonna order more meat or eggs, and she's gonna skip the pasta, for example. So that also creates for yourself a circumstances where it's easier to say, okay, I will skip this, yeah, to adapt actually to your sports
Mhm.
nutrition. Yeah,
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 yeah. This is a very good one. I think it's to inform your environment, how the way you eating, or if you change something, that you
yeah,
inform people so they don't. Again, coming back to the first part of our webinar, we're talking about cultural environment and things like that. So um, people expect sometimes you to eat a certain way because that's how it's done. Um, so it's nice just for them to inform that well, you're changing a little bit, and then that's okay. You will see much less resistance from from the other people or from the people
yeah,
around you, and a lot of understanding actually.
yeah,
So
yeah.
instead
It
of you say,
helps.
oh, why don't you eat the cake? It's like now they know, so they're not gonna ask you
Yeah,
anymore.
true. It makes it a lot easier, at
A
least.
lot
Yeah,
easier for you as well to
yeah,
say no or like just to
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And now we're talking about all the things how to do it well. and then talking about when to eat. What if do you have some tips and advices, like I have a craving, like I do need to eat something because I'm tired or bored or stressed? So what are the things that you do? Your plan
Um,
Bs and plan Cs?
plenty. There are one thing that I do because I know my body well. Um, Sometimes I need to accept that it is like it is. Because if you don't do that and you're always fighting against yourself, um, it is very stressful. And then the guilt, the shame comes in. Um, so I say sometimes, you know, it's okay to take the chocolate, right?
Yeah,
To take the ice cream, I would say. On the other hand, if you really have a, a, a a competition or you working towards something, then of course always get back into your mind why you're doing it, and knowing that maybe it is just for a short period of time, right? What are the costs of taking that chocolate now if you're in the training phase? I don't know.
yeah,
So it is really up to you to, yes, what do I really need that today,
yeah,
or am I working it towards my goal, which is
yeah,
whatever competition or things like that.
yeah. Hey, and what happens if you're at home and you're really craving something? How do you handle that?
So if you know that you have cravings of chocolate, or for me it's chips, potato chips. It's
Oh,
like
really?
chocolate is. So I don't care too much about chocolate. But, for me, it's really more the salty things like nuts and things like that. So if I know that I crave that once in a while, I don't buy it, right? I don't have it at home, and so even if I crave
Okay.
it, then
Yeah.
then I will say, well, I don't have it at home, so I'm not going to go. Or maybe I will go to the supermarket. You putting in another obstacle in front of,
Yeah.
getting what you want at that moment. So that's one thing. How do
Yeah.
you do it?
What I
I don't know.
Yeah, well, what I said, and usually I eat at around 12. I'm Dutch, sorry, but I eat quite early. And then at when it's 11:15, I get a little bit hungry, and I'm like, I also like you, but I don't have it at home. That helps. But yeah, sometimes I'm just really hungry. And then instead of going to the peanut butter jar that I sometimes do, I have this bag of very boring carrots. But then I first take a part of a carrot, I just nibble on it, and then usually like the craving is gone. And then I walk away, and then it's like gone, and I can, wait until lunch. So this is really something that how I do it. I always have ready vegetables at hand in the fridge, like tomatoes or carrots, and or cucumber, something that at least I can, give my brain the idea that I ate something. So this is usually how I do it. Yeah. So yeah, but also just not buying it, not having. But I mean, if you have children in the house or a family that really likes that, yeah, one of the tricks as well is to just at least put it very high in a cupboard. What you said, like make it a bigger obstacle that you can think twice if you really want to do this. So these are little tricks that
Yeah, yeah.
um, help you to actually stick to the nutrition you want to get in. Yeah. So
It
that's a
buys
little
you some
bit of
time as
when to.
well. So because yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, because it buys you some time because sometimes you uh, most of the times it's really just cravings. It's not really hunger. So and cravings can pass as well. So give it some time to just process. Okay, am I really hungry? Do I really need it right now?
Yeah.
Or just do I just want it? Just pass it through, and maybe you will take the piece of chocolate, and that's what I said. That's fine, but maybe 2 out of 10 times you will not do it, and that's already
Yeah.
a win.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
instead of 10 out of
What I
10.
always love
Yeah.
about our conversations is that we both know a lot about all these topics, like in-depth knowledge, but also we come up with always very practical tips and advices
Mm,
that work for the normal people. At least that's how I perceive it as well, because you can ask for a nutrition coach to make a very detailed meal plan. But if you have to buy very complicated things and you only cook one meal for one time and you put like 20 minutes of effort in it, you can only eat it once, and then the ingredients are left in the fridge. That's not practical.
mm,
So I always try to well, that's what I feel that we always share, as we're just very practical. We all have, you have a family, you go to the groceries. So if you buy one truck of broccoli, you're not going to cook only half of it because you only need it for one meal. But,
mm,
one day evening you cook it and you eat it as a meal, and the next day you have the cooked broccoli already. You can make easily a broccoli soup out of it very easily. So these practical things are things that I think in a workshop we will tap into more detail if people want
yes,
to. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and I think coming to like the more practical things, I'm really wondering if people have questions. So feel free to post your questions in the chat so we can pick them up and see if we can answer them live for you.
Yeah. I'm looking at the chat on LinkedIn now, but so far I don't see anything. Anyways, so if you feel like you need to talk to us afterwards, that's also fine. If you have questions later on, you can always reach out to Masha or to me. You have, yeah, our profiles now on LinkedIn, so you can DM us with your questions, and we'll be glad to answer them. Or you
Yeah,
can also come to our workshop on the in Amsterdam,
yeah,
where
sure.
we are going to go a little bit more into details, and you're going to have like a workbook also to work with it, and have free time to yeah, go through your questions
Yeah, and
or
also discuss with other people. Sometimes just sharing experiences with each other might also help a lot.
yeah.
If I recall one of the questions that I got with someone who was struggling to get more proteins in, um, my advice to this. So the question was like, okay, I want to eat more protein, but for some reason I can't make it work. How do I do this? And then I asked first, like, but how do you then actually come up with something to eat? I asked them to guide me through your thought process. And they said, well,
Hmm.
usually they start with, what do you want to eat, pasta or rice? And then I was like, okay, interesting. You want to eat more proteins, but you're starting with, as we shared in the beginning of the webinar, you start with the carbs. Rice and pasta are carbs. So I said to this person, like, what if you start with your thought process, like, what do we want to eat, with the sources of protein? So, and let's go to the easy way, that is actually animal protein. So start more from the starting point. Do I want to eat poultry? Do I want to eat fish? Do I want to eat meat? And then the meat can be cow or pig, or so. And if you then start from that, okay, if I'm thinking about a juicy chicken thigh, okay, what do I like with that? Well, for my diet works protein and then fat. So this is one of the keto diets, for example. So okay, if I think about chicken and fat, for me it's chicken satay. And then I would combine it with a nice salad or gado gado kind of vegetables. So then you have a different starting point. And these are very practical things that people can help to change their diet habits, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have
I
a concrete
also
example of a question that you have?
um, a lot of people. So again, going back to proteins, because honestly, when I see at my clients, most of them, no, all of them really don't eat enough protein. Um, so carbs are, the staples of our plate. It's like what you said. We always start with some kind of, with some kind of carbs. But so people struggle eating enough protein, and then the question arises very fast when I tell you, okay, you need to eat a little bit more protein. It's like, what about shakes? So protein shakes. Um, I I have nothing against protein shakes because I do that as well, because I know sometimes I don't come to my daily protein amount. So then occasionally I will do protein shakes. Um, but we always will try to get the proteins or the macros through our whole foods, right?
Yeah.
But I tell people, okay, because we're busy with, we're trying to get our protein intake up. Yes, you know, if in the end of the day you didn't have enough, yes, take the protein shake.
Yeah. True.
And again, there are protein shakes and protein shakes, different qualities, right? The price says a lot about protein shakes. So yeah, I would advise, because it's so important to have protein in the right amount, right?
Yeah.
Also, if you're not
What is the right
uh,
amount? I believe it was
so
like 1.8 to 2 grams per pound of body weight or
for
kilo.
per kilo, yeah,
Yeah.
per kilo.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at really, if you're really working out hard, and if you really want to build muscles or change your body composition, yes, we go up to 2.2, but that's quite a lot, right? So you need to also look where you're at now. So that's why I also look at what you're eating right now. If you're eating only one third of what you need, it's gonna be very difficult to get that, two-thirds up.
Yeah.
So like gradually you can also increase. So it's not all or nothing, but
Oh,
you need to feel what it is to eat that much protein.
yeah. Indeed. Well,
Yeah.
okay. I think we've come to sort of the end of this webinar.
Yeah, it was
Again, if you have any questions, send us to us. That's completely fine. We'll try to answer them in hindsight after the webinar as well. Lastly, I think it's yeah. So what are the next steps actually? Because we've done our webinar, we gave a brief introduction. Yuri, Bianca, you're also do one-on-one nutrition coaching with people.
Yes, I do, combined with training, because I do
Okay.
believe that training and nutrition goes hand in hand. So you can't, yeah, training without proper nutrition doesn't really work, and
Yeah,
the other way around. So yeah, it could work, but it's also you want to, yeah,
it's a
complement each other.
combination.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a combination.
And I also feel that in some gyms, they also offer nutrition programs. Like
Yes.
I coach myself at Mobilis CrossFit, but also Mobilis Fitness. I know they have a very nice nutrition program there, which you can take. It's like a program of 12 weeks, I suppose. And then you have some one-on-ones with people and you get schedules. So that might help as well. As I said, you can also educate yourself,
Hmm.
read books, that kind of things. But of course, then let's do some self-promotion as well. We will host a workshop on the 12th of April in the afternoon, Saturday, in Amsterdam West. It's at the location Podium. It's a very nice cafe. We booked a separate room where we host a maximum of 20 people, and we really go in details to questions they might have, but also just go on the fundamentals. We'll have a nice booklet with some, which you can use as a reference and making some notes, and there's will be some information there. A really valuable afternoon well spent. It only costs €22.95 for a 3 hours workshop, including drinks and snacks. So it's actually a bargain to what you get in my perception. And the price is that low because we get subsidy from the gemeente. I think that's also worth mentioning. So that could be follow-up steps for people who want to take a next step.
Yes. Yeah.
Good.
So yeah, we would like to thank you for being here and to listening to us for an hour. I hope this was valuable and that you could take something out of it. And again, don't hesitate to send us a DM if you have any questions after it.
Yeah. And then for the workshop, if you want to join 12th of April afternoon, you can sign up via Eventbrite. So if you go to the Eventbrite site, there, if you look for FoodStart in Amsterdam, you'll most likely find us.
Yes, I'm going to also post the link under this webinar, so which you asked to attend. So you will get, I think, a notification. So if you're looking for it, you're gonna get it.
Yeah, excellent, good. Thanks everybody for joining. Have a wonderful evening and a good sport workout.
Yes. Bye bye.
Okay, bye.